What is going on, guys? It is your boy, the Goat TCG here, and today I'm coming at you with another deck profile. Today we are going to be reviewing my Mystic, Piscean, and Undead deck. So this deck came to me, I was trying to come up with a control strategy, and I wanted to outdraw my opponents, outvalue my opponents, and remove whatever threats they could be playing, whether that be Flanagan's, or Wylands, or if that is a Dukraka. So I ended up coming with this list. I've tested it out. Currently about 4-0 with it. I played against Ascendants, Pisceans, and Human Aggro as well. And it's done amazingly against all three of those competitors. So let's get right into the video. But first, remember to like and subscribe. And for more deck profiles and for some product openings, and anything else I might be posting. So starting with the one drops, we have 2 copies of Pollux. Pollux was a Genesis card and is one of my favorite cards ever printed. It's so versatile, and being able to give it Death Touch at instant speed is very valuable as a blocker and as an attacker. It has Steadfast, so you can attack with it, hit an 11-year card, and be able to block with it with Death Touch on your opponent's turn. Next we have 1 copy of Molimo. He's just a good 1-drop, very versatile, hits from the soul row, and we are playing a lot of 1-drops in this deck to help with our matchup against aggro and also against control, because early on in aggro you want that board presence, and then against control we're going to be playing a couple copies of Memento Mori to give them more problems to deal with. Next we have 1 copy of Fredonia from Wicked Prophecy. Once again, another good value card. Being able to look at the top 2 cards and see what you have coming is very good, and being able to engage her, draw 1, add her back to your hand. It's just a very good repeatable effect, and you can get that extra value from her. Next we have 3 copies of Fredonia. So Fredonia is another very good 1-drop. It helps fill the graveyard. It's a good early board presence, and yeah, it's a very good card. Rounding out the 1-drops, we have 1 copy of Juno. Juno, I just really like the art. He's not a bad 1-drop. He fills your graveyard a little bit. As you'll see, that is important for this deck. And so yeah, moving on to our 2-drops. We have 2 copies of Leaf. Leaf is also one of my favorite arts in the game. Very good effect. Enter, probe 1, when he dies, draw 1. So you're just continuously outvaluing your opponents with these 1 and 2 drops here. You play them, they replace themselves, and you just keep on drawing cards. Next we have our 1 3-drop in the deck, Jurin. Jurin, he's there for black fixing, as well as we play a lot of 4 and 5 drops in the deck, and being able to recur those is very good. Just a good value card. Might want to add more depending on how future testing goes. Now moving on to our 4 drops. For our Pisceans, we have 2 copies of Aulani. So our deck fills the graveyard quite easily, and having Aulani basically draw you a card at the beginning of your turn for free is very good. So you play that, it's a very good blocker. It has Death Touch, it has Toxic, and you draw 2 cards instead of your opponent's 1. So you just continuously outvalue what your opponent is doing. Next we have one of my favorite cards from Wicked Prophecy, Davy, Redeemed Scoundrel. He has Eager. When he attacks, you can cast a spell from your limbo with the cost of 1 or less. So as you'll see later on in the video, we have a lot of spells that you can cast for free and get tons of value with Davy. This card has single-handedly won me multiple games, and it's crazy. I might move it up to 3, but we'll see. Again, just crazy value, being able to get free spells, and the 1-drops in Kryptik are very good. Next we have the Nolan to Lopaka duo. Lopaka is just a different version of Nolan. It looks at more cards, but Nolan does guarantee you that value when he dies. It's just different cards, very good in their own ways, and those are 2 more of our 2-drops, very good attackers. Once again, more value. Next we have 1 copy of Pluto, Raging Goliath. So say the game's at a standstill, your opponent has 1 card in hand, you have 1 card in hand, you play Pluto, you're probably winning that game. Just the amount of recursion that he can provide, unless your opponent removes him, is unlike anything else in the game, and can easily swing the game in your favor. Next we have the lovely lady Rosa. Rosa has honestly been an all-star in this deck. Ramping you on turn 4 is extremely powerful, especially for the control deck we are. It gives you more mana to leave open for counter spells, it gives you more mana for draw spells, and then having her as a big body and getting the value when she dies is insane. So a very good 4-drop, and that is all the 4-drops for the deck. Next we have 2 5-drops. One is Alona. She gets milled, you're basically drawing a card, returning her to your hand. And lastly we have Muriel, the Archmage. On play you get to return a spell with cost 3 or less and cast it for free. So I'm running Fortuity in this deck, as you'll see, so drawing 2 cards for free or removing something on play is very good, and also a giant body for a couple spells you'll see later. So moving on to spells. So we're running a lot of 1-drops in the deck, and to outvalue our opponents even more, we are playing 2 copies of Memento Mori. If your opponent spends time removing your 1-drops with their capital punishments or any other removal spell, casting Memento Mori and getting 2 back is kind of a backbreaker, and it is a very good card. Might turn it to 3, depending on how future testing goes. Next we have 1 copy of Renewed Tenacity. Hitting it from Soul Row is amazing. Targeting those 4 and 5-drops that we have in the deck feels really good, and might bump this to 2 as well. Next we have 2 copies of Midnight Meander. Being able to get your threats back, as well as at instant speed abolish your opponent's threats when they're targeting them for recursion, is very powerful. Also castable with Davy. Another card castable with Davy, 3 copies of Boneyard Survey. Fills the graveyard, filters your hand. Just a stable card if you're running green or black. Amazing. Next we have 1 copy of Vital Deliverance. A good card, also here just for fixing green-blue. Good draw power, good fixing at the top of your deck. Just a solid card. Next we have the 2 copies of Fortuity. We will have more cards in our hand than our opponent. I guarantee you, if you use this deck, you will be outdrawing your opponent so much, and they just won't be able to keep up, and you will outvalue them until you win. And Fortuity just helps you do that, especially with being able to cast it from Muriel, from your 11-year row. You can hold 3 mana open, you hold your counterspell open if your opponent doesn't play anything. Fortuity, draw 2 cards, it's amazing. Next we have our removal spells. So we're running 2 Litha, Ritual of Summer. Crazy with Davy. If you have 5 mana open, you play Davy, you cast your Litha. Davy's a 10/10, so usually you're killing whatever you want to kill. You target your opponent, Davy takes some damage, but Litha goes to your limbo, you attack with Davy, and basically you just nuke Davy again. Davy dies, but you just 2-for-1 to your opponent, removing 2 threats at once, and then it's just so good. If you play this deck, make sure to run that combo, and you will outvalue your opponent 100%. And if you want to, you don't even have to target it with Davy. You can keep Davy alive, make your opponent remove it, and then just keep repeating the cycle with Davy, getting more value. It's insane. Next we have 2 copies of Infinity Blade, which is a new addition to the deck. I was up like 6-2 against an Ascended deck. They dropped a Dukraka on me, and I almost lost. because I didn't have any direct removal that could kill big things. So here we have Infinity Blade for answers to 4, 5, and 6 drops. Next we have our auto include Capital Punishment. Y'all know the story. You have to play this card if you're running these colors and must include. Next, my favorite focus spell ever printed. We have 3 copies of Unmake. If you don't know what this does, it basically puts 2 of your opponent's citizens on the bottom of their deck, where their soul cost is less than or equal to the number of cards in your hand. You can hit this from 11 euro. You can hold 3 mana open, hold your counter spells open, and also if they hit this in your 11 year, cast this, bounce 2 of their things to the bottom, and we're drawing so many cards that X is often equal to 6 or 7. So it'll win you so many matchups and outvalue your opponent once again. Next for our counter spells, 1 Wicked Visions, 3 copies of Rash Judgment, and 3 copies of Dead on Arrival. And that's it for the deck. Please try it out. It is an amazing deck, something I'm very proud of building. It has Pisceans, Mystics, Undeads, and they all synergize so well together. And I think there's still a lot of potential for growth with this deck. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, and stick around for future videos. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope y'all have a great day.